So looking at Homework and Remembering Unit 6, Lesson 3, we are now writing word problems for multiplication and division equations. So our directions for the homework side, number 1 asks us to write a word problem for the equation and then draw a model to show the product. So on the homework side, number 1, we have the equation 2/3 times 3 equals 6/3. So we need to think of a real life scenario where we can use these numbers, this equation, for a story problem. So when I see fractions, a lot of times I think of cooking and different recipes. It's just kind of what comes to mind first and is mostly the easiest to write about. So I would think of a recipe, let's say a cookie recipe calls for 2/3 of powdered sugar. Alright, so let's say we used our 2/3. So how can we use this number 3? We need to times 2/3 times 3, or think of this as 2/3 of, because when we see that multiplication sign, we think of the word of. 2/3 of 3, that may help you too when you write your problem. But a cookie recipe calls for 2/3 of powdered sugar. I'm going to keep it simple and say to make 3 times as many servings. And then I'm going to put 6/3 is needed. So I kind of ran out of space there, but what my word problem would say in all is a cookie recipe calls for 2/3 of powdered sugar. To make 3 times as many servings, 6/3, using the product, 6/3 cups would be needed. Alright? And as I look back here, I should have had cups here. So 2/3 cup. 2/3 cups of brand sugar, or I'm sorry, of powdered sugar. So the word cup need to be there too for our unit. That's important. So a cookie recipe calls for 2/3 cup of powdered sugar. To make 3 times as many servings, 6/3 cups of powdered sugar would be needed. And there are different ways you can write the story problem. This is just one way that's probably the most straightforward and simplest way to think about it. A lot of times fractions are the easiest to write for when they are thought as servings for recipes and other things that involve cooking, because we use a lot of different fractional measurements when we measure volume with cooking. So you have numbers 2, 3, and 4 to do. Or actually, this goes up to 3 on your homework side. One more multiplication one, and then a division one for number 3. Now, it calls for us to also draw a model. So on this next slide, I'm going to create a fresh white page here, and we're going to draw the model for. So continuing with number 1, we have 2/3 times 3. Well, I need 3 wholes, and I'm going to cut them into thirds. Why do I cut them in thirds? Because my denominator is in thirds. So if I have 2/3 of each whole, that's 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 equals 6/3. So you need to draw these models right to the right of where you're writing out that story problem, where it says show your work, that column to the right of your page. You need to have a model such as this, and this supports your work and just shows that this proof of this drawing here gives us a direct proof that this is correct. So we are really understanding what's happening if we can draw a model that supports a story problem that we've written. Alright, good luck on the rest of this tonight. Hopefully it's not too difficult. There's only a couple more problems on your homework side. And then don't forget about doing all the problems on the remembering. Have a good night.